Hey YouTube, how's it going? It's Quentin here, and welcome to tutorial number 8. And in this video, I'm going to talk to you guys about how to echo out variables into the browser. So you might say, well, we have already echoed out some variables into the browser. And yes, we have, but I want to talk about this a little bit more using concatenation to concatenate variables to the end of a string, so it makes a lot more sense. And then I'm also going to talk to you guys about something called string interpolation. Okay, so instead of just echoing out name and age, let's try echo out a string and concatenate the variables. Okay, so let's echo out my name is, and we'll put a space there, and then we'll use the full stop to concatenate name, and then we'll put a full stop again there, so, or a period symbol, and then we'll leave a space here and say, and I am age, don't forget the full stop, years old. Okay, so when we save this now and go back to Firefox, instead of getting just Quentin 21, our two variables printed on the screen, let's refresh this, and as you can see, we now have my name is Quentin and I am 21 years old. So we can see that we can indeed concatenate a variable onto the end of a string, and we can actually concatenate multiple strings with multiple variables. Okay, and this would work the same of, instead of just using a period, we could use commas, and that would do the exact same thing. So if I go ahead and I save this now, when we go back to Firefox and click refresh, nothing changes. And that's because using a comma is the equivalent of obviously using the full stop or the period symbol. Okay. Now, as you can see, I've also used single quotes instead of double quotes. But we can do this with double quotes as well. And as you can see, there's already something that's starting to show. But let's just go ahead and we'll double quote everything out. Okay, and this is obviously going to mean the same thing as if we had single quotes over here. But if you guys can recall from the past few tutorials, I've told you guys that double quotes actually have a special purpose or a special meaning in PHP that is different to single quotes. Okay, and that's what I'm finally going to talk to you guys about now, and that is called string interpolation. Okay, so if we ever want to print out variables as part of a string, okay, instead of using single quotes, we just need to go ahead and surround everything with double quotes, and I can go and get rid of all these quotes in the middle that'll ruin everything up. Okay, and as you can see, I've got my starting quote here and my ending quote here, and if I run this in Firefox now, okay, this is still going to work and it's still going to print out the exact same thing, because whenever we use double quotes, PHP knows, okay, I'm gonna have to look through this string for some variables, okay, and if I find a variable there, I'm gonna have to treat it as a variable. Okay, so we've got name here and we've got age here. Those are two variables. And when we go back to Firefox now and click refresh, you can see that this still works. So we still get the exact same sentence printed out on the screen. Okay, however, let's say I used a single quotation mark and a single quotation mark. Okay, you might expect this to do the same thing. Okay, PHP is going to look through this string, and find a variable and print it out. Okay, but that's actually not what happens. Okay, let me just click refresh, and as you can see, I've got my name is $name and I am $age years old. Okay, so PHP interprets this literally when you're using a single quote. So it's actually literally going to print out $name instead of my variable. Okay, so if I want to use a variable inside of a string, I have to use double quotes. So you might be thinking, well, that's awesome. Every time I want to print out variables, I'll just use, okay, anytime I ever want to print out a string, I'll just use double quotation marks. And it's not that simple. Because let's say, for instance, this string did not contain any variables and I went ahead and I used double quotation marks. PHP would waste its time looking for variables, not find any, and then continue. Okay, so if you're worried about your program running the fastest, like if you actually worried about speed, then you should still use single quotation marks like that and end it off there and concatenate your variables on with the comma or with a full stop. Okay, so it would make, or for a lot better or a lot more efficient program, if you're using single quotes and then concatenating your variable. Okay, so you only need to use double quotes wherever necessary, and then just try use single quotes as much as you can everywhere else. It's just going to help your program run a lot faster. But let's go back to having these double quotes here. Okay, and as you can see, my variable doesn't actually stick out. Okay, because over here I've got a blue variable, but over here I've got this dark gray bolded variable. Okay, so this is something that is of personal preference to me, but I like to know wherever I'm using a variable. Okay, I don't want to have to struggle to see my variables. And so what I like to do is go over to the style configurator in Notepad++. I'm going to look for the PHP language, and here where it says string variable, okay, these would be variables that are inside of a string. As you can see, the color is set to gray, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to change that over to pink, and then I'm also going to find where it says variable here and change that over to pink. Why pink? I don't know, I guess I'm just in touch with my feminine side, but I guess it shows up and it stands out really nicely so that I can see wherever I'm using a variable, because nothing else in Notepad++ turns pink. So it was one of the only unused colors. So now when I go ahead and save this, instead of having blue variables, I have pink ones, and I can see them nicely and clearly, so they stand out. And that is why I like to change my variables to pink. So thank you very much for watching, guys. Don't forget to subscribe. Please feel free to leave a comment, like, or share the video. It's really going to help my channel grow. And I'll see you guys next time.